The Southern Nevada Water Authority is taking care of what's in your glass. Sourced from the Rocky Mountains, your mineral-rich tap water is tested more than 300,000 times a year. It meets or surpasses the highest quality standards. It even meets more stringent requirements than bottled water. Cheers to that, Southern Nevada. Learn more about your tap water at snwa.com.
What will it take for Las Vegas to consider itself a world-class city? Some say it's the Michelin-starred restaurants. Others think more sports stadiums. But how about masterful artworks on permanent display? Where are those? Today on CityCast Las Vegas, Heather Harmon, Executive Director of the Future Las Vegas Museum of Art, joins me live from the Rita Deenan Abbey Art Museum. We discuss how fine art has appeared and disappeared from our city, where some amazing gems are hiding right now, and how Vegas is gaining steam as an art destination in America. It's Monday, June 23rd. I'm David Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. First off, I want to welcome everyone to a taping of the CityCast Las Vegas podcast. Yes. We are truly blessed to be in this, I'm just going to say the word, sacred space of Las Vegas. So let's get to what people are here for, the lost art. Well, let's start with this. What's the secret art? Like, what's art that exists, art of note in our community that people might not be aware of? Where is the secret art that some Las Vegans or most Las Vegans haven't seen or recognized?
I feel like the secret heart is spread all around us, and I feel like we're not always looking and listening and watching. Some of my favorite spaces are the two large David Hockney works that are in the hallway between Aria and the Nomad, and they are absolutely not to be missed. And I feel that there's great art in our midst everywhere, and we're remiss in not having that intricate
Are they marked well?
Map.
So
they are marked with a label, but you wouldn't necessarily, you have to seek it out and go and find them. And when you do stumble upon them, they're extraordinary. And the MGM program was really visionary when Michelle Quinn led that charge to bring and commission Nancy Rubin's work to the front of Vidara, and the incredible another Klaus Oldenburg work that lives.
The Eraser.
The Eraser,
yeah.
And the Violin behind the front desk. I mean, it's an amazing program. Tony Craig, the list is long, and they've really invested significant care and capital into that program, and still continue to do exhibitions and programming today, and still continue to get excited about younger artists. And up until the pandemic, we're doing a very thriving residency, the last artist of which participated was an LA artist named Parker Ito. And so I think that there's a lot of art in our midst, but a lot of times we have to seek it out and go to the casinos to find it. My favorite secret that is not open to the public is the Empathy Suite at the Palms. And it is
the Empathy Suite.
The Empathy.
Okay.
We know how important that is.
And this came into being when there was the last rebrand of the Palms, when they did
when
invest a lot into art?
When there was the last renovation, they invited the artist Damien Hirst to take over a suite and do a total takeover, from everything from the textiles to the wallpaper to the furniture to the window coverings to the pool to the countertops. And it is a really wild, amazing, total experience, unlike any other. And you can experience a part of it.
How do they keep that from getting hangovered?
You know.
You know what I'm saying?
How we keep our entire city from getting hangovered.
Well,
I mean,
we have mixed results in that, but okay. But when's the last time you were there? Is it still in good shape?
I always sincerely and earnest, whenever we have a museum group coming to visit Michael Heiser's city, I always humbly ask, please, can I take him to the Empathy Suite? And it is still just as spectacular as ever. And you can get a little taste of it downstairs at the Unknown Bar, where you have a big installation of Damien Hirst, the shark and formaldehyde, with the iconic dot paintings surrounding.
Got it. All right. What are some other good secret art spots in Las Vegas, or secret art that exists within our community?
I mean, we know this is my obsession. I don't know if it's too early to jump
go for
into
it. Jump
my
in it. Yeah, this is your
favorite Guardian Angel Cathedral. It's probably the space that I visit the most. It's the most incredible modernist building by Paul Williams, and it has murals and mosaic by two sisters, Edith and Isabel. Pizik.
You got it.
Pizik, and in one of the stained glass windows behind the podium, you see the early history of Las Vegas. And this church was built in 1964, and embedded in the stained glass, you see
this is a legit Catholic church.
It's a legit Catholic church.
And they have mass there.
They have mass
and
there. They have weddings. They have funerals.
Yeah.
And they have the Stations of the Cross. But this one hidden stained glass in the back of the church on the right, this extraordinary triangle, contains freeways and atomic signs and the landmark and the stardust and the comedy tragedy. It's all there. It's all there.
It is
and
a
it's
peculiar,
so amazing.
And mixed with the the Catholic iconography.
The Catholic iconography, which the first stained glass panel on your left as you walk in has the Catholic iconography with someone throwing dice.
Yeah.
So good. It's so good.
What are some art installations or exhibits that aren't around anymore, that Las Vegas is lesser for because they're gone?
I don't always feel that we're lesser for. Sometimes I feel that we've made space. And so one of the things I was excited to talk to you about is the 60s Tingley work, where Tingley was commissioned, a Swiss artist. We'll get to Swiss artists soon. Tingley was commissioned by NBC in 1962 to make a series of sculptures for the Flamingo. So he assembled trash and bicycle wheels and found objects and made a series of sculptures and took them out to the Jean Dry Lake and exploded them.
Art that wasn't meant to last.
Art that wasn't meant to last. But on that very same location, adjacent to that location, and really something I think that is an element of our art history that we pioneered and can celebrate shortly after that in 1968, the land artist, philosopher Walter D. Maria did a work out there called Mile Long Drawing, where he walked a mile and laid chalk as he walked, and then walked the mile back, laying chalk as he walked. And that was really a work that changed him forever and changed his practice forever. And around that same period of time, in that similar location, Michael Heiser was out there doing drawings with his motorcycle. And this was a way in which, at the time, when we think about land art, which Nevada is a pioneer in, and we hold some of the earliest and most significant works of an entire movement that influenced artists globally.
Not without controversy.
Not without controversy, but at the time, if you think about land art in the framework of when it was made, it was a reaction to the growing commodification and art market that was starting in the 60s, and what it meant to be confined by four walls and be in a gallery space. And you have a group of artists who wanted to not be in that space, to get out of that space, to break free of those constraints.
You describe, and those are great examples, but they were intended to be transitory, right?
Yet today, when you go to that very similar location, you see 7 magic mountains. And the artist chose to cite 7 magic mountains out of reverence for the history and to call attention. So when Ugo Rondinone talks about Seven Magic Mountains, he talks about
Literally
the history
building
of the
upon
space
his
and that
predecessors.
he wants to be in the space of artists before him who made land art in a more permanent way. And so all to say, you have that ephemeral journey that made space and inspired an artist to do something that's very permanent.
That's a really wonderful insight, because I don't think that people think of Las Vegas, which is literally the last major metropolitan area to emerge in America, because we really only come into our own as a metropolitan city in the late 40s, really.
We're a baby.
We are a baby.
I'm so proud of us.
But to have that sort of lineage is really interesting. I think people don't realize that, because everything does always seem so new. And also, we're very good at kind of sweeping away what was to give us what is.
Yeah, and we forget about, we move so fast. And when you move so fast, sometimes it's hard to think about context and framework and time.
Also, let's not sleep on the walls of the plaza on the outside.
Yes.
Some really great street art installations.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. Have you ever picked a vacation spot based on where you won't need a phrase book? With Babbel, the language barrier no longer has to hold you back. You can start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based techniques, which quickly teach you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. Babbel has more than a dozen languages available for you to learn at your own pace, with material tailored to your individual proficiency level, interests, and time availability. I'm David Ploth, CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. What I really love about learning Spanish with Babbel is that it works with me where I am. The app and the website keep track of what I've learned. They help me review what I probably forgot from last time, and always is keeping me engaged with a new challenge based on actual conversations I might have in Spain or Mexico or Colombia, especially food conversations, because I love food conversations. So get talking with Babbel. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to give you 55% off subscriptions, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast, spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
What about Le Rêve? Le Rêve had a huge history, the Picasso piece, in Las Vegas. It was a huge buy when it happened. Steve Wynn purchased this for some outrageous sum of money, probably a record sum at the time. He was originally going to call the Wynn Le Rêve. He decided to name it after himself instead. But he did call the show that was created there Le Rêve. And then famously, he had a bunch of his celebrity buddies around him, including Nora Ephron. And he accidentally put his elbow through the Picasso, and it had to be restored. So it's definitely gone through this whole thing. And it was on display for a little while, and then not. Do you know what happened to Le Rêve?
Le Rêve also lives in a private collection and is very well loved by a Picasso collector who really collects the work in depth. And so it's in a private collection.
In the state or not in the state?
Not in the state, no. And, the beautiful thing about that is that the Picasso restaurant had upwards of 100 Picassos, a portrait of Francois Gillot, who is also an incredible painter and a lesser-known painter, but wife of Picasso, who has an exhibition up right now in New York of paintings from the 60s at Andrew Krepp's. The most stunning portrait of Francois Gillot, ceramics, works on paper.
It was a weird
and it
space,
was like
though.
it was like a small Picasso museum. Incredible.
Yeah,
That
and-
you could go there and see all of these Picassos.
Just recently closed. Do we know what? I mean, and that was the thing, is that like you would go to Picasso's, especially in the beginning at the Bellagio as a restaurant, to eat. You know,
You'd
you weren't
eat
really
dining with
going there to
Picasso.
have a museum experience. You'd just be, sticking Branzino down your gullet. And you'd look up and you're like, oh my God, that's a $10 million piece of art from Picasso, right?
The first time I grew up here, so that was the first time I ever saw a Picasso. I wasn't super familiar and didn't have a lot of Picasso access. So after seeing those Picassos, I somehow got in my mind to go and see Guernica. And Guernica is this Bridge Mountain, Rita Dean and Abbey sized work that's about the war, the Spanish-American War. And I remember going all the way to Madrid, going to see Guernica and watching it being wheeled by me inside a crate
'Cause it was gonna
to go on
on
loan
loan.
to another exhibition.
Yeah, there
and
you go.
so it took many years for me to see Guernica, but a lot of my formative experiences seeing art in person was the Bellagio Gallery when it opened in the late 90s. And
Yeah, and they've had
I'll
some
never
great
forget,
exhibitions.
the first painting I saw there was a Miro painting. It's called Dialogue of Insects, and it's these beautiful, tiny little insects, and then there's this wild ear of corn that comes up through the painting and just cuts the whole canvas in half, and it's so joyful, but I had never seen those works before. And so I look at that time, and I look at the history of art and casinos with such gratitude. I mean, I didn't travel. I never would have seen these works were it not for those experiences. And so we hope to bring those experiences to our young people of all ages in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Where do you think that all the Picassos go now that the restaurant is shut down?
I don't know.
Should
Happy
we try
homes?
to hold
Happy
on?
homes?
Happy homes. Should we
Happy
try to hold
homes?
on to some?
Well, I think the idea was that they would also, often, and listen, deaccession is always a complex puzzle for museums and private collectors, and sometimes you can't always keep something as much as you want to, and museums face a lot of controversy anytime you have to. This happened during the pandemic. There were institutions that had to consider deassessing works to keep their doors open. And so people face economic challenges that are unprecedented, and often a deaccession is a necessity. And sometimes the deaccession is an opportunity to create younger artists, to bring in artists that's a younger generation that may be living and working now. And so it's not always a straightforward journey.
Do you think that our city's elite have an obligation to the public to share their art with us?
I would say knowing the pleasure and the joy of living with art and having that experience, I understand why people collect. And when I think about this work of Rita's that was at Judy Bailey Theater, waking up and living with art and experiencing art is a transformational, extraordinary joy that it can bring such excitement to your day-to-day life.
And I think everyone who's here would agree with that. I mean, that's one of the reasons probably why they're here. But
when
not
you
everyone
say
has
responsibility. I would like to dive into that a little bit more because we're in this space of art that's very well cared for. And we don't have a lot of spaces in Las Vegas currently where you could bring your artwork in and have it receive that level of care and display. And so often when you're loaning work to a museum that you love, something's leaving your home and you love it very much, and it's going in a crate and it's going on a truck and it's going away from you, it's leaving your care. And having seen things on the other side, all the adventures that an artwork goes through to get from point A to B, if those crates could talk, we would learn a thing or two. So often, when we're asking people to loan artwork on display, we want to take good care of it. We want to be good stewards. And I would say part of what we have the opportunity to do is create space for viewership and stewardship. And I think that's certainly a responsibility that we take very seriously at the future Las Vegas Museum of Art, to be good stewards and to take care of things when they're on display. And we've seen a lot of work on display in public spaces, in casinos, but they do have that level of stewardship and care.
Often, not always.
Often.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Do you think it would be a noble goal, apart from creating, climate controlled places that you can display the art, to incentivize private holdings to display it? Should we offer tax incentives? Are there tax incentives out there for private works to be publicly displayed?
There are tax incentives that exist when you gift a work. So it's not necessary, and there are additional tax incentives, but they're in very rare instances. It's only in tax-free states. So if you would like to save on sales tax, you can go to Oregon or Delaware. And I believe there's a couple other states that have that ability. But in general, the incentive is really when you make a gift, when you know that you're leaving this place and that a museum or an institution is a great place for long-term care of your work. And I think when we live in an underserved community, we can't expect that everybody can get to a museum. We have to be visionary in thinking about how you can bring a museum to a community. We at the Las Vegas Museum of Art have a partnership with the LA County Museum of Art, so we really look to their leadership and education and understanding, what do you do when someone can't visit you? How do you bring a museum to them? They have an extraordinary program that boxes an entire activity and brings it to a school with a teaching artist. And a teaching artist is generally someone who has an art practice, which I have been to many studios here, and there's not a lot of infrastructure for you to support your art practice as an artist. You're often working on a strip or working in hospitality, but these programs are really incredible because you support practicing artists getting into schools, working with children, working with our community, and you make it activity-based and you make it autonomous to show that you too can make art anywhere, in your school, in your home, on your bus, and you really want to open those pathways, and you really want to give permission in the maker space and not expect that everyone can always come to your museum, but find ways that you can take your museum to your community.
I think it's a fantastic aspiration. Last question. There have been many efforts to bring a art museum of national renown to our city. They have all basically spectacularly failed. But there is one last effort that Elaine Wynn was a driving force behind, and that is the one that you're affiliated with as the executive director. Tell me a little bit about what you expect the Las Vegas Museum of Art, did I say it right?
Yes.
To do. What plans are in the work for bringing art to Las Vegas public? And give us a hint. I know that you can't just tell everyone what the first exhibition is going to be, but give us like a little bit of a amuse-bouche of what the art will be like there.
We're very fortunate to have a partnership, as I mentioned, with the LA County Museum of Art. And one of the reasons we were so excited about that partnership and Elaine's leadership, because she was really instrumental in her board service there, is that it's art from an institution that's encyclopedic. That means that we can show everything from ancient to modern, from decorative to design, and show that in conversation with artists living and working in Las Vegas, and also in dialogue with collections in Las Vegas. And so having that freedom and that flexibility for programming.
You glossed over that really quick. In conversation with collections that exist within Las Vegas, What do you mean by that, Heather Harmon?
It means that we are really excited for the opportunity to present some of these lost works, some of these hidden works, some of these treasures, and show them in the context and the framework often of how people live with art, how people spend time with art. And we didn't feel that contemporary art was the only answer. It's an important answer. It's an important place to support artists who are living and working and responding to your time. But it's also important to show the framework of history and what artists are influenced by and what they're thinking about, and to be able to show works on paper, fashion, objects, ceramics, and all of history, to make that available to our community and to really cross geographies and demographics was really an exciting proposition for us. Our city is very diverse. We're multilingual, and we want to have a museum that is responsive and that is welcoming.
Is it going to be a place that celebrates regional Southwestern art, Mountain West art? Is it going to be a place where there is mostly old classics or more modern pieces?
We're going to celebrate all of those things, and that's the most
ambitious.
Exciting proposition.
That's ambitious.
But we have 3 exhibition spaces, and we want to plan for 100 years. And very fortunately, in addition to the museum's footprint, we were also gifted land to have an outdoor sculpture park. So you will have a museum that has a very open ground floor. The building itself is influenced both by Red Rock and Valley of Fire in its material, and also by the Guardian Angel Cathedral in the idea of creating a spiritual space. The ground floor is very transparent. You can see in, it's very welcoming. That was a lot about the type of space that we wanted to create. And we were very fortunate to work with a Pritzker laureate who helped facilitate the concept. His name is Francis Carré, and he's originally from Burkina Faso, but lives and works in Berlin. And he really spent time in Las Vegas. And so what you see of the building is a reflection of his experience and his influences of being here. So you see Red Rock, Valley of Fire, Guardian Angel, Hoover Dam, and this real desire to bring nature in the form of a building into the center of downtown Las Vegas. And so what you have is a very welcoming, open ground floor. You'll have commissioned artworks that'll be permanent installations. You'll have outdoor sculpture, a bookshop, places to sit, places to gather. The whole ground floor plane is really that community space. And then you'll go up into the upper 2 floors are the exhibition spaces. And so
here's the hard question. How is this one going to succeed where the other attempts have failed? How are you doing on your capital campaign?
we're doing very well in our capital campaign, but we started very strong. We have members of our board that wrote their first check to a museum in the late 70s. And so when you have that love and you have that commitment to community and you have that government support and you have that leadership and you have the right partnership, you have a plan, you have a formula, you have a path for success. And we knew what the end goal was. We knew what we wanted to be. We knew who we wanted to serve. We knew that while we might enjoy the benefit of the tourists that visit Las Vegas, we knew we wanted to build an institution for all the people that live and work here and make the magic happen.
Well, thank you all again. Give yourselves a round of applause. You've been a great audience. Thank you, Heather. I love you. Before we wrap, another big thank you to the gorgeous Rita Deenan Abbey Art Museum. Don't forget, now through July 15th, you can get 50% off tickets using the code CityCastLV. That link is in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. Our producers this past week were Sonia Cho Swanson, Layla Muhammad, and Elizabeth Kama. Our newsletter editor is Rob Kacheris, and our hosts are Sarah Lohman and me, David Figler. Music is by OG Moose, Epidemic Sound, and All the Kimonos. We record the show on the traditional homelands of the Nuufi, the Southern Paiute people. If you enjoyed the show, hey, please tell a friend. You could also rate our show. When's the last time you rated a show? Do ours. Leave us a review, too, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky.